Welcome to this video that shows off some features of Microsoft Azure WebJobs. WebJobs is a way for you to run your code as simple batch processing in the Azure platform, and it is a feature which is now generally available in Microsoft Azure. My name is Magnus Martinsson and I'm a Microsoft Azure Most Valuable Professional, and you can easily reach me if you have any follow-up questions either online or an email below. I did a previous recording called the Hello World Web Job where I go through all of the fundamentals of Azure WebJobs, how to set one up and how to deploy one into Azure. This is not that video. I urge you to go and look at that video first if you haven't done so. I will continue with showing off some features in a separate demo. In this video, I will show you a real customer case where we wanted to copy blobs around the world from different storage accounts to other storage accounts. So we created ourselves a little web job to handle this blob copying for us. And it's actually quite powerful, and we were very content with how well this worked out, actually. So it's kind of fun to show off something which is an actual case using the power of WebJobs. The setup for this web job is that they have two queues actually and a release container. The release container in our case contains a file. This is actually just a picture of me, but it could have been a release that they wanted to copy around the globe. So here's the actual picture of me in the file folder here in the blob container, which will be copied over here to the other container, which is currently empty. The two queues are for copy jobs and completed jobs, completed copies, because after every completed copy, they wanted to also store in the database which copies were available and where in the world they were available, for instance in Asia or in Europe or whatever, and show that on the download site as download options to their users. The copy releases queue contains one message that I've already prepped in there. It's a message with from connection string for the copy source, and to connection string for the destination, and also the file name to be copied, in this case the picture of me. Going into the code into Visual Studio here, we can see that the web job starts the way it always does, by starting a job host and calling the run and block method. Below here you can see the signature of the actual web job we use, called copy release. The first thing you notice on this is that it's actually asynchronous, which is really handy, because that means that we can do multiple copies at the same time. And since we are not copying the actual file into memory of the web job host, we're able to run many of these in parallel. I'll show you below. We'll step into the code briefly, and I will show you exactly how this works. The source copy releases is the queue trigger for this web job, and it sends in a message of type blob copy, which has this shape: from connection string to connection string and file name. WebJobs works in such a way that if the input parameter is a standard CLR type, WebJobs expects that the message of the incoming message in the copy release queue are of this shape and stored in as a string JSON serialized object. So it's pretty nifty that you can just specify your incoming parameter the way you want it, and you don't have to think any more about it. My output queue here, where I post messages after I've done a copy, is actually a reference to the cloud queue in this case. I just felt that was convenient for this story, and you can certainly reference them like this if you want to. I also have a log text writer declared, which means that I can write log messages to Azure WebJobs diagnostics. Pretty cool. And since it's an async method, we also have the option to receive the cancellation token. Now let's run this code and step through it step by step. When I start, of course, it's going to check the copy releases queue and immediately find my message to copy my picture from one blob container to another. The first thing I do is get a reference to the blob that I'm copying from, and then I get a reference to the blob that I'm copying to. Check to see if the originating blob exists. It does. And this is actually a check against storage to see that it does actually contain the blob we want to copy. Next thing we want to do is create ourselves a SAS key, which is a shared access signature. That's a storage feature, an Azure storage feature. So that means that I will be copying from a URI, and the URI I'm copying from might be protected. The releases folder might be a private folder, and therefore I'm getting myself a read access permission to this folder or to this actual blob for 2 hours. Obviously, it'll finish copying in way less than 2 hours, but I just picked 2 hours. Then I create myself the URI that I'm copying from, which is the absolute URI down into storage containing, referencing my picture here with the SAS key attached to it. So I can actually browse to this thing in a browser window. You can see that it's now available. I can browse to it. Cool. The next part is to copy the actual blob from the originating URI to the destination container. And this is a very nifty copy command sent into Azure Storage, which means that Azure Storage is copying my source URL into the blob that I have defined. That means that I'm not streaming the content of the blob into memory of my web job and then out into the destination as another stream. That would mean that I would take up a lot of memory on the machine, etc., etc. So instead, I'm actually tasking Azure Storage to do the copying for me. So that's really, really powerful. And since I'm doing it out of memory or not in the memory of this web job, I can run multiple of these in parallel using the asynchronous declaration that I'm using here. So I say start the copying, and then I wait for a couple of seconds, and every 2 seconds I'll go back and check with Azure Storage, did you complete the copy? And of course it's already completed because it's only a small picture. It took almost no time to copy that over. And then I say, well, I'd like to now make note that I have finished this copy. So that's the end of the code run for this message. The result of this is that the copy message is of course managed, and the copy complete queue has now the URL of my new destination blob right here. If I go back to the releases folder and do a refresh, you can see that my nice little picture has been copied over, and the original one is actually still in place. So that's the whole production status, production worthy code that we needed to do mirror copying using a web job. I think it's pretty cool that you can do these powerful things with just a few lines of code and using the features of Azure Storage, doing it asynchronously. Everything is just really handy. The code is very well supported and sort of complements the Azure Storage features in this scenario. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.